All right, I gotta keep it real with you guys for a second. I've been working on this video idea where I sculpt every day for 30 days in order to try and get better at painting. But I only made it 3 or 4 days before I kind of fizzled and burned out on this idea. Maybe there is another way that we can accomplish this goal. Someone has added sculpting to Minecraft. So there is a few tools that I can use in this mod here. I don't know how any of this stuff works, but I can come over here and I can click on this, and then I can select a point, and then I can select another point, and then I can do stuff with it, like move it around. We can clone stuff. We got stack. We got smear. Wait, I want to smear something. Holy. And it's changing levels. It's going down in elevation as it moves out and across. This is only a tiny section of what we can do here. Watch this. This is a full interface. We have all of these tools, and we're gonna have to go through these and try to figure out what they do. So I can use this one just to paint like this and build structures. I also have sculpt draw. What's the difference here? So I think this is like the clay buildup tool, closer and closer to you. I think if you keep stacking onto it, it will keep building more and more, unlike the other one. So painter seemingly, okay, this will just let me retexture and repaint different things, which actually becomes very useful because Minecraft doesn't have normal lighting, I suppose. So there is light and dark, but pretty much everything is just ambiently lit, meaning corners get a little bit darker and anything not a corner is a little bit lighter. So we can actually use something like the gradient painter here, which we could set from black wool to gray wool to white. The farther away we get from the surface, the more it will gradate outwards. So if I select a light source coming from a certain area, then I can choose which side I want to be light and which side I want to be dark after I model something, and actually put my own modeling in through the texturing of the object, which hardly even makes sense to me. This changes everything. How did they get Blender inside of Minecraft? Incredible. I mean, this is just so crazy. Imagine what the people who grow up playing Minecraft and are inspired by this type of stuff are gonna like get into genuine real sculpting. I mean, these skills, like, they're gonna transfer right over. No way. They have the gizmos. Oh my God. How did they do this? We can do anything. We have everything we need to be able to sculpt anything. This is crazy. And then I could add like another shape onto this, a cuboid. Push that inwards. And we're putting a cuboid on top of a sphere like this actually creates out like the block out for a head. This is our cranium and our jaw. It's the front of our face. All right, so let's go to a creative world, a super flat world. That way we can actually focus on something. Here's what I want to do. I want to try making a skull. I think I want to make a skull because that's something that I'm comfortable. I know the proportions of, and it's possible that we could make the Minecraft skull painting that I made in Roblox in 3D, and we can make 3D flames inside of the eyes. A skull is greater in length than it is in width. So the cranium has a little bit extra in the back of the head, a little bit more like football shaped. That should be pretty good. So this will be the side of our head. And for our head, we need a little wedge. We need some sort of triangular shape, some sort of mask shape. What we could do is we could take a cylinder and we could insert it into the front of the head. That would be a good way to put on the jaw. I'd like you all to meet my former student. Essentially, we got like our big cranium back here, but now we need to add on this like sort of triangular wedge right here. So what we can do is just kind of slide a whole cylinder up into this. That should work just fine. Reduce the diameter. Reduce the height. The height of the skull should equal the length of the skull. It should be a square in profile. So as long as we come down here and we look at this from exactly profile, the more confused I am, the harder I start squinting, just hoping that things will make sense to me. Oh, that's good. That's perfect. Okay. Now we're looking at it from the front view. And it needs to line up like this, center myself. And from the side view, that looks good. Maybe from the top view, that looks pretty good too. We can probably push this in just a little bit too. So it's truly just kind of right on the front of the face. That's maybe where our brow line is. Wait, this is so sick. So what I want to do is maybe do like a little bit of a sketch on our block of stone like Michelangelo. If I do the painter, this is just going to change the color of whatever block I select. So let's do this to white wool. And now, wherever I draw, it will mark it in white, like we're using a piece of chalk. So here's our center line right into here. And we're gonna have our face split into thirds. So this is about where the brow line should be. This will be the top of the forehead. We need to drop that distance down again to find the bottom of the nose, and then drop that distance again to find the bottom of the chin. So the face splits into these 3/3, and then we have our brow line right here. Are we gonna have eye sockets right into here? And this is where our mouth is gonna be under this third. I think we just gotta carve some eye holes into this bad boy. What I am a little bit worried about here is I don't have enough resolution. Like this is so few blocks, I don't think I'm gonna be able to make any details. I wonder if I can scale this whole thing up. Don't call me boomer energy when I'm using a 3D modeling program inside of Minecraft. This is not easy. Okay, now I understand. It's in the cut tool because that makes sense. And now I need to know how to make cuts subtractively out of this. Oh, okay. Sculpt draw. Now we can use this to carve into it, and we can set the brush strength. That's the brush size. That's a decent size right there. And then strength will show how far into this we end up carving. On the skull, the eyes kind of are like sunglasses. They're a little bit shaped down into the sides. They're these, just like that. And we need to really try to make things symmetrical. I've never sculpted before without some sort of symmetry tool. I mean, like literally every sculpting program has a symmetry tool, so that's kind of weird. This is where our nose is gonna be. Generally, it's best to sculpt from the profile early on. So let's do that. How do we wanna pull this thing out? There's a bump for the brow, there's a bump for the nose. I don't know if I'm gonna get it on the center line there. Then the head kicks back, and then the nose kicks out a little bit. Bump for our brow, bump for our nose, and then it cuts inwards to the face. There we go. And then our cheekbone's gonna be right in here. And then the mouth pushes out like an egg. Instead of trying to sculpt out a whole bunch of mass like this, it would be best if we just made another shape. We can pull this into here. This goes into there, right? That's gonna be the egg for our mouth. Come back around to the side view of our head. We're gonna need to make it a little bit taller. That makes sense, actually. It looks like it comes out a little bit less than the nose does. So we'll push this inwards a little bit here and maybe reduce the height of it. Put that in. And then we want one more sphere for our chin to poke out with. And that goes right there. And I like it when on the skull, the chin is a little bit more aggressive and it pushes out a little further. It just looks cooler. You look at those like Imperial Academy skull drawings. They have these like super aggressive chins. It's really strong shape language. Our forehead comes down. We bump out for our brow line. We bump out for our nose. That nose bone comes back, and we come out over the egg of the mouth and out over the bump out for the chin. That's our side profile form of the head. Out, 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 and then here. The cheekbone is really far back. So notice all the way out here, the cheekbone is all the way back here. It swoops down from the brow line. So that's gonna come out like this and pull down and around into here. Maybe we wanna sculpt this from the front just to see. It's coming along. I see it. I see the vision, all right? Just believe. It needs to kind of swoop down and out a little bit more, and it needs to not be so strong. So we could use like a lasso select, I guess. It would be better to set up the cheekbones, I think, from a basic form rather than trying to sculpt them because it's going to get a little bit too crazy. So let's grab another shape here, and this time we'll use a cuboid. Cheekbones start at the base of the nose, and we're gonna slot this in. The cheekbones are like a big box that go across the front of the face, and they're just as wide as the face. So the distance from one cheekbone to the other cheekbone, if you flip this distance upwards from the chin to the brow, that should equal each other. And it looks like it does. That's kind of perfect. Make sure our distances are pretty equal in here. And then our cheekbones wrap around and come back up and connect the corner of our brow bone. It should be right about in here. This should pull out the furthest, and then this, the front of our brow bone, is the furthest point outwards, and then it pulls back a little bit around this corner here. Yeah, I could have just sculpted with bigger masses for our brow area, because now I'm kind of like very crazy geometry on these areas. We have a few planes on our forehead. We have one central plane here, and then one on each side. I make this forehead pull back a little bit by melting this in, and then I can melt in these two sides at equal rates. I just need to smooth this out. There's got to be some sort of smooth tool. But it's also Minecraft, so I don't know why I'm like worried about getting like perfectly soft, smooth sculpts. I think it's okay. We have like all this like really weird broken geometry I don't know how to deal with. Oh no, it's so bad. It comes out and then it hooks in, and then it cuts down at a pretty normal slope, just like this. And and then it hits the base of the nose where it pulls out just a little bit. And then it comes down and it hits this, and then it transitions out to the mouth area. If this is really asymmetric at the end, I can find a way to flip it. I think that flipping is in the cards. So even if I only do one side really well, I can flip it. Maybe I should just focus on one side. New strategy. Only focus on one side. I'll figure out how to flip it later. We just have to keep putting off our problems until we can deal with them later. I think that that's kind of the solution that we need here. Central plane of the forehead. If I use a smaller brush here, I can get a little bit more of a granular control. So we have these two areas on the top of our brow called the superciliary arches. I feel like I could have just used like a whole bunch of different primitive shapes to make all of this, and it would have been so much cleaner and easier. But we are so horrifically fucked now. I'm just gonna say it. Where this brow is, comes over here, and then it swoops down out to cheekbone. So it's gonna come down here, connect to the cheekbone, and then pull down into the side, which is pretty much what we have here, actually. It's not too bad. Those cheekbones come in over to the mouth, plug into the front of it like this. So maybe getting somewhere. Just imagine, like, close your left eye and then mirror the right side to the left side, and then we have a little bit of a skull here. Is it perfect? No, but I mean, actually the forms are nice, and the areas that I didn't touch quite so much are even better. We have this back area of the skull looks really nice. I actually like how this cheekbone turned out. It rounds out and connects into the form. It looks solid. And now I want to turn it into the Minecraft painting. We need orange wool, yellow wool, red wool, and then it should be pretty easy. 2, 3 yellow, and then red. So that is the recreation of the flame. Now all I have to do is select this, copy this, say blueprint, we're gonna call this flame. Rotate scale, scale 3x, pull this out of here. We're gonna just keep scaling this until we need to. It's not quite so chonky, but we'll figure that out. We can make some edits, just make sure it's the right size. So it goes out in front, and it goes from just in front of him, and it goes to about the base of his nose, which is actually, that's about perfect. This one will go right in here. This one will clip inside of the head. Man, I hope I don't mess this up, because I have no idea how I'm going to get this out of the head if I don't. Well, that's not bad, actually. It does just kind of clip out of the bottom, and that does make sense. I got to come here, and before I keep going, I got to chop this up so it looks more pixely. I can't stand these rounded corners. It just doesn't look right. If you want to do it, you got to do it right. Goes in close to the head, but it does cast a shadow on it, so it's not that close. That's probably perfect, actually. And the problem is like the camera is facing this 3/4 angle of the skull, and the pixels, the fire pixels, are flat, but we're not looking at the fire pixels flat. So they're not oriented towards us, and we're seeing a slightly different perspective on the fire than we are as in the original painting. I don't know if we can do anything about that. This one will go inside slightly the zygomatic bone and right under and popping out under that eye. And then this pulls out a little bit to the side. One goes inside the left eye socket. We can see it inside of the left eye socket. I know the scale's different, but I don't have a good way of changing the scale on a granular level. All I can see right now is just that I can 2x or 3x the scale. It doesn't help me like that much, or to rotate the perspective. Like if I could, rotate these at a 3/4 angle towards the camera, then it would look a little bit better too. But let's just see how it looks all together, and I'll make kind of the background too, and I think it'll look fine. This one's gonna connect right back here. Wait. I can affect the scale as long as I'm fixed in this perspective. All I have to do is just make it further back in space. There we go. That works. Okay, now all we have to do is paint. Okay, so I can quick select all the stone here. Huge selection, just all the stone on the skull. And then we just need kind of a gradient that goes off towards like a dark gray. So if I go to my gradient painter here, and then we just need to put together a block palette. So the whitest part will be white wool, of course. And then we can kind of paint the shadows mostly by hand. And then all we have to do is make this really big radius further away from the center of where I place this down. So I can place down this line, and the further away you get from the center, the darker it gets. What am I even looking at? Now we're darker in the base of it and lighter up here. So that's kind of our general fall off of light for the whole skull. Let's do this one more time so we get this nice and correct. Okay, now I just want to make a flat green plane under the skull, and I want to make a flat dark blue plane up behind it. And that's all I'm going to do. Make the selection. We fill the selection with a dark green. Not exactly right, but bear with me. Now behind our skull, create a little wall to build height. Now we're gonna fill this with dark blue. I wish it could be a little bit darker. I need to extend my walls. From this angle here, like this is the angle of the image. We lose that night feel though. I wish I could get night background with day lighting. I need this within the sun in the background. You could use light blocks and cover the sculpture in light blocks. We mask the air so that we can paint anywhere that's air, and then now we can illuminate. Oh my god, wait, this is so sick actually. Oh my god. Okay, so now we just need to paint anywhere that's flame as light. And we can use that to illuminate the ground too. Oh my god. Now we can naturally light this. This just makes so much more sense. Along with the painting we've already done, now the materials will make a lot more sense. Some of these shadows will kind of naturally fill themselves in just a little bit. That's actually really nice rounding in here. And now I don't have to worry too much about like this gap isn't the right size, like not as big of a deal anymore. Okay, now we can light the ground a little bit too. Let's put a moon in like light blue. We'll say this is where our render is from. Now here is where the moon is, right here, but it needs to be kind of like baby blue. Then we'll gradient paint from white wool to light blue wool. Like I need to be able to like dot something in like kind of randomly. We can just do this. Okay, and then now all this just needs to get a little bit darker. Side glass in front, it would kind of like unify all the colors together because it would be a sheet of blue in front of everything. That's actually a pretty good idea. I need a darker blue, maybe not so dark though. That's not bad actually, that's pretty good. We'll box select this. We're gonna pop it out one that's hovering outside of it. So now we have a selection that's just a whole area outside of it, and we'll fill it with some stained glass, blue stained glass. Now I can sculpt with light. I want to do this again, and I want to try to do a figure, and I will study up. Look at that. Oh, it looks good. Oh, I know I want to be done, but I have to do one more thing. We can just paint some mountains on here. Minecraft tree shapes are not on point. Stretch out this light a little bit more so that we see it on the tree. Get it lined up perfectly. I think this is gonna be the perfect angle. Oh, take your screenshots, people. Take your screenshots. I will come back and I will do a figure, okay? I just have to grind a few tutorials out. We're gonna take some lessons from the pros and we will come back and do more. You guys gotta become a member if you wanna see that, or just subscribe.